Hi, it's Melanie from melodramacmommy.com. And today I have a message for Nate Berkus. Everybody should know who Nate Berkus is. We first kind of heard of him on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and he has been the decorator of choice for Oprah and the O Network. So Nate Berkus just got his own show, and I was not fortunate enough to meet Nate in New York when I went to the Blogger Conference. As several people did get to go to a party for Nate Berkus's launch, and I didn't get to go to that, but I have wanted to keep up with the show, so I've been DVRing it. And a couple weeks ago, I was getting caught up on the episodes, and it was sometime after dinner, and I was sitting on the couch, and I had the episode on, and this particular one had a piece on it about internet safety. So I was watching that, and I was on the couch by myself. I think my husband was downstairs, and my son was downstairs, and watching the episode and getting some good information on how to keep your kids safe online, things to do to monitor their activity on their computer. Well, unbeknownst to me, the subject was about to switch. So Nate introduces a mother and daughter, and I believe they're on a TV show. And the mother and the daughter had a recent conversation on the reality show about sexting. So in walks my son, and he sits down next to me just as Nate introduces the two people, the mother and the daughter, and says we're going to be talking to them about sexting. So the minute the word comes out of his mouth, of course, I kind of sneaky look over at my son, and I have this couple seconds of internal debate, mild panic, and I'm going, okay, what do I do? Do I switch to the TV real quick? Do I hit pause? Do I start talking really loud, like, oh my gosh, Tyler, did you really like what we had for dinner tonight? Oh my goodness, wasn't it great? Do I send him to his room? I didn't really know what to do. So, after a couple seconds of debate, I just decided to let this thing play out and see where it was going to go. There's a good chance that maybe he wasn't paying attention at all, which, if anybody knows my son, knows that that's absolutely not true. He hears everything. So, sure enough, a couple minutes into the segment, my little boy looks over at me and says, Mom, what is sex texting? And if you were around a couple weekends ago, I think it was on a Tuesday night, and it was sometime after the dinner hour, if you heard a really loud thud, that was me landing on the floor. I mean, honestly, when I looked over at him after he asked me that, it was like I was looking at my little boy in his high chair, covered in peaches, and, he's asking me in this little tiny voice, Mommy, what is sex texting? That's just something that you don't want to hear come out of your little child's mouth. So at first I was going, curse you, Nate Berkus. I didn't expect the go from internet safety to sexting, like this total 180. So at first I was like, gosh darn it. Okay, well, I said, here, listen to the segment, and then I said, let's talk about it afterwards. So that's what we did, and I told him in an age-appropriate way, because he's only 7. I told him what sexting was, very, in general terms, that people, younger kids who weren't too much older than one of his cousins, and I gave an example of one of his cousins to give him an age reference, I said, are using their cell phones to send pictures of themselves, possibly naked pictures of themselves to each other. And he's been asking me for a cell phone for a while. So his response was just classic him. And he goes, Mom, you're right. I don't ever want to get a cell phone. So that was kind of a lighthearted end to the conversation. But later when I told my husband, I said, hey, tell Daddy the conversation that we had the other day. And Tyler says, ooh, Mom had to tell me what sex texting was. And I thought Phil's eyes were just going to bug out of his head. And he's like, good job, Mom. And I said, well, you know what? At first, I didn't want to go there at all, but he was in the room and I couldn't ignore it. But then I thought about it and I said, you know what? Our kids today are starting their digital lives earlier and earlier. Their digital footprint starts now. I mean, heck, I've got my son's name reserved as a URL, as I bought his name as a domain name. So our kids are being exposed to so much more than we were at their age. And if I don't explain it to him And if I don't decide to, use it again in age appropriate terms, I'm not doing my job. And if I'm going to be in this space, if I'm going to be within the social media sphere, it would be irresponsible of me not to explain things to him when he asks, and to expose him to technology and things like that and show him how to use them responsibly. Talk to him about what the dangers are. We've talked to him about going to websites that he's not supposed to. He's actually been grounded from the computer for going to one site to play an online game. And then we go down there and he's got 12 windows open because he's been clicking around the game sites to try to open other areas. So we've actually had to take their computer away, and we talked to him about viruses and different things. So in a way, at first I was going, curse you, Nate Berkus. I can't believe I had to talk to my 7-year-old about sexting. But then, like I said, I got over it. And, we had a brief conversation, and it was an honest conversation. And I'm kind of glad we did, because we tell our son that if he's got questions, he can come to us and we will answer them. So for me to have dodged that or pushed that away, I wouldn't have been living up to what I've told him, is that he can come to us, when he's got questions about things. So I guess in a way I have to take back what I was originally thinking about Nate and say an actual sincere thank you, Nate Berkus, for having a conversation, allowing me to have a conversation with my son that honestly I wasn't quite prepared to have at age 7, but we did, and I'm glad we did, because again, I'm in this digital space and I use it responsibly, and I need to teach my son how to use it responsibly as well. So thanks, Nate.